Welcome back to the deep dive. We're the place where, we don't just skim the surface of the stuff you send us. We like to think we put it through its paces, analytically speaking.
Yeah, really pull it apart to see what makes it tick.
Exactly. And today we've got something really potent. It's a track that sounds almost like pure pop bliss on the surface, but underneath it's incredibly dark. We're talking about Bring Me the Horizon's Die For You.
Oh, this is a fantastic choice. BMTH, right? They've had such an interesting journey musically.
Totally. From that heavier rock and metal core sound, shifting more into, what do they call it, future emo.
Future emo, yeah.
Yeah.
And Die For You is peak that. It's super catchy, almost anthemic, but the lyrics,
Yeah.
wow, they're heavy, deeply personal, and actually quite disturbing when you unpack them.
Right. And that's our mission today, isn't it? We want to move way past thinking this is just some, I don't know, catchy song about a messy breakup. Because thanks to the source material you listeners provided, we know what's really going on.
We do. And the key piece of information, the real Rosetta Stone for this track, comes straight from Oli Sykes, the vocalist. He's been very open about it.
He has. What did he say specifically?
He stated really clearly that this song is not your standard love gone wrong ballad. It's actually a direct metaphor, a very detailed one, in fact, for his past struggles with drug addiction, ketamine specifically.
Right, ketamine. And he described that addiction as a kind of toxic obsession. Like the drug itself becomes this entity, this destructive lover.
Exactly. A lover that demands everything, someone you'd literally self-destruct for,
Yeah.
even while knowing it's the absolute source of all your pain and misery.
And the music video just drives that point home visually. It's got that whole stylized vampire thing going on.
High contrast, very slick, but the setting is literally called Club Hellhole.
Subtle.
Yeah, right. It frames the whole thing not just as codependence, which is bad enough, but as something truly parasitic, like bloodthirsty. The speakers being actively drained physically and emotionally, but they just can't leave.
Okay, so that sets up the core conflict we need to get into. It's this massive, internal contradiction driving the whole song. The speaker knows. They can say, you're everything I hate.
Total rational awareness of the source of the pain.
But then, in the same breath, this overwhelming, almost fatalistic pull, but I would die for you. It's just stark.
It really is. And that's why we're treating this song not just as music, but as a kind of, a cultural artifact with extraordinary density.
Yeah, density is the word.
We're going to use analytical tools from all over the map here. Psychology, obviously, but also things like forensics, semiotics, even theology, and believe it or not, engineering principles.
To see how a pop song, something designed for mass appeal, can actually hold such complex, terrifying truths about, the human condition.
Addiction.
Precisely. How it captures that pathology.
Okay, let's dive in. Section 1, this paradox. Hating something, but being utterly dependent on it. That central lyric just grabs you, doesn't it? You know you're everything I hate, wish I could escape, but I would die for you. It's shocking, but clinically. It's frighteningly accurate for someone deep in severe dependence. #tag forehead 1.1. Clinical psychology and neuroscience.
So if we put our clinical psychology hat on, or maybe our neuroscience one, we're looking at the brain's control mechanisms, right?
Exactly. The part of the brain saying, this is everything I hate, I wish I could escape. That's the rational mind. That's likely the prefrontal cortex.
The bit that does planning, long-term thinking, consequences.
Right. It sees the damage. It knows escape is the logical, necessary thing. But the problem in severe addiction is that this rational part gets hijacked.
Hijacked by what?
By the more primitive parts of the brain, specifically the limbic system, the reward pathways. Think of it like the brain's survival circuits.
Okay, so how does that hijacking work? How does the primitive part overpower the rational part so completely?
Well, substances like ketamine or opioids or stimulants, they flood that reward circuit with neurotransmitters, mainly dopamine, at levels far beyond anything natural, like way beyond food or sex or even love.
So the brain learns this incredibly powerful artificial association. This substance equals ultimate reward, maybe even equals survival.
Precisely. It creates this immediate, overwhelming link. Substance equals relief or euphoria or just feeling normal again. And once that pathway is carved, that craving becomes the brain's absolute top priority.
Prioritized over health, relationships, future, everything.
Everything. The brain literally rewires itself. The prefrontal cortex, the part that should be hitting the brakes, saying, wait, think about the consequences. It effectively gets weakened. It might be starved of the chemicals it needs to function properly, or its signals just get drowned out by the sheer force of the craving signal from the limbic system.
So the desire to escape is real. The person isn't lying about wanting out.
No, it's completely genuine. But the compulsion, the neurochemical need for the substance, feels momentarily more essential for survival. The person is, quite literally, neurochemically chained to it. The wanting system overrides the liking system, you could say.
That really makes the word die in that chorus hit differently. It's not just
Yeah. Oh,
hyperbolated.
absolutely not. It's multi-layered. There's the literal risk, right?
Yep.
Overdose, accidents, long-term health failure. That's terrifyingly real in addiction.
But there's more to it.
Yes, there's the metaphorical death, too. The death of the self, who you were before the addiction took hold. The death of relationships, ambitions, potential. It's the sacrifice of everything that makes up a life, just to feed that chemical compulsion.
So that line, it's almost like a clinical diagnosis packed into a pop lyric.
It's incredibly precise. It captures that awful state, knowing the destruction, genuinely wanting out, but being momentarily powerless against the chemical imperative to stay, even if it costs you everything. Hashtag tag 1.2. Semiotics of masochistic devotion. Semiotics and cultural studies.
Okay, so we've got the brain chemistry locking the person in. But what about the language they use to describe it? If we shift to semiotics, the study of signs and symbols, the source material suggests this lyric is doing something really twisted with language itself.
It really is. It's described as an act of linguistic perversion.
Yeah.
Think about it. The phrase, "I would die for you," is like the absolute peak romantic trope, isn't it?
Yeah, ultimate self-sacrifice for the beloved. Knights, martyrs, heroes.
Exactly. It signifies the highest possible value placed on the other person.
Yeah.
But here, that ultimate expression of devotion is being applied to something the speaker simultaneously identifies as everything I hate.
So it's taking the language of noble love and stapling it onto an object of loathing and destruction.
Precisely. It misuses the language of devotion. Romantic self-sacrifice is meant to affirm value. Here, it affirms the power of the addiction, the pathology. The romantic language becomes a kind of shield, maybe even hiding the severity of the situation from the speaker themselves.
But hang on, if the addiction is personified as this all-consuming lover, like in the video, doesn't it kind of make sense to use romantic language even if it's twisted? Couldn't it just be, dark poetry?
It could seem like that on the surface, but the key is the explicit hatred combined with the masochism. It's not just dark. It's self-destructive in a very specific way. The devotion requires pain to feel real.
Ah, okay. So the vampire thing in the video isn't just style.
No, it's crucial context. The you isn't an equal partner in a tragic love affair. It's a parasite. It feeds on the speaker, drains their life force. The sacrifice isn't mutual or noble. It's demanded. It's extracted.
So by forcing this noble language onto that dynamic, the speaker is essentially, what? Lying to themselves.
In a way, they've romanticized their own destruction. The act of dying for you stops being about selfless love and becomes the main symptom of the disease. The pain, the shame, the misery, all of it gets reinterpreted inside the speaker's head as proof. Proof of how loyal they are, how deep their connection is to this destructive force.
Wow. So the language itself becomes part of the trap.
Absolutely. It's a crucial semantic trick. The addiction needs the host to believe the suffering is meaningful, that enduring the agony proves something positive, like strength or devotion. Because if they face the raw reality that the compulsion is simply killing them for nothing, it might be too unbearable to continue.
They're twisting a fatal flaw into what feels like a virtue, using words to make the unbearable bearable.
Exactly. Language is self-anesthesia.
Okay, so the brain is trapped chemically, and the language is trapping the person conceptually. But then it gets even stranger. The song moves towards trying to find some kind of meaning or even holiness in the suffering, which brings us to that line. Let me see my halo, even though it's painful, I'm prepared to lose. Hashtag tag 2.1, Theology of Addiction and Secular Martyrdom.
Yeah, the moment the word halo appears, we've shifted into a different kind of framework. It's almost quasi-religious.
Because a halo is, sainthood, purity, being marked by God.
Precisely. It's an absolutely unmistakable religious symbol. It signifies holiness, being set apart, often through righteous suffering or martyrdom. It suggests the suffering has been redeemed, given a higher purpose.
So the speaker isn't asking for help or therapy or escape. They're asking for spiritual validation, for the destruction itself.
That's what it sounds like. They're demanding the halo as a way to find justification for the agony they're enduring. It's as if the addiction itself has become their personal cross to bear.
And carrying that cross gives them, an identity.
An identity, maybe a sense of purpose, however twisted.
Yeah.
In the chaos of addiction, latching onto this idea of being a sufferer or a martyr can provide a strange kind of structure.
But if the pain is so bad, even though it's painful, why seek validation for it instead of just stopping from causing the pain?
Because in this distorted view, the pain is the point. It becomes the currency of this perverse devotion. And this is where it really twists the traditional idea of martyrdom. Well, think about traditional religious martyrdom. Someone suffers and dies for a higher cause, for God, for truth, for others. It's outwardly focused, even if personally agonizing. But here, this is what some might call secular martyrdom. The suffering isn't for God or some grand principle. It's for their own internal compulsion.
Suffering for the sake of suffering, almost. Or suffering to prove loyalty to the addiction.
Exactly. The suffering doesn't redeem anything external.
Hmm.
It just serves to justify continuing the suffering. The line, even though it's painful, isn't a complaint. It's presented almost like evidence, like, see how much I'm hurting, that proves how devoted I am.
So the pain becomes the price of admission to this warped sense of self, this saint of suffering identity.
It validates the choice to stay. If I'm enduring this much agony, the thinking goes, then this relationship, this addiction, must be incredibly important or unique, or maybe I must be special for being able to withstand it. The pain isn't a warning sign anymore. It's the very foundation of this diseased identity.
Which makes "I'm prepared to lose" sound incredibly bleak.
It's the ultimate acceptance of this martyrdom. It's saying, I will sacrifice my life, my health, my future, everything, in exchange for this identity as the supreme sufferer, the ultimate devotee in this destructive religion. For one, hashtag tech 2.2, social psychology and cognitive dissonance.
Okay, that idea of using pain to justify staying in a terrible situation, that loops us right back into psychology, doesn't it? Into how we trick ourselves.
Absolutely. We're squarely in the territory of cognitive dissonance theory here.
Remind us briefly what that is.
Cognitive dissonance is that intense mental discomfort you feel when you hold two contradictory beliefs or values at the same time, or when your actions contradict your beliefs. The mind hates that conflict and will do almost anything to resolve it.
And the conflict here is massive. It's belief one, this thing is destroying me, it's agony, it's everything I hate.
Versus belief two. And yet, I am actively choosing to die for it.
That contradiction must create unbearable mental tension.
Exactly. It's psychologically excruciating. The brain has to find a way to reduce that dissonance. You can either change the behavior, escape the addiction, or change one of the beliefs.
And escaping is incredibly hard because of the neurochemistry we talked about.
Right. So often, the easier path, psychologically, is to change the belief. And that's where the halo comes in.
The halo is the justification, the way to resolve the dissonance.
It's a perfect mechanism for it. If the speaker can convince themselves they are a martyr, that enduring this pain is noble or strong or proves their unique devotion, then the suffering is no longer just pointless agony. It's reframed as meaningful.
It makes the unbearable choice, staying, feel internally consistent, even virtuous.
Precisely. It protects the decision to stay. The halo transforms the suffering from a signal screaming, "Get out!" into a badge of honor. It twists the evidence of destruction into perceived proof of goodness or strength. And as long as that reframing holds, genuine escape or recovery is psychologically blocked. The dissonance is resolved, but in the most destructive way possible.
Wow. Rewarding yourself for your own annihilation. Okay, so we've covered the mental loops, the justifications. Now the song seems to pivot to the physical, the really graphic stuff. We get that horrifying couplet. Because the truth of it, you could slit my wrists and I'd write your name in a heart with the hemorrhage.
Yeah, this is where it gets visceral.
And that's paired with other lines about physiology, like, I breathe for you, I bleed for you. It feels like the body itself is becoming the site of this. Pathology, hashtag 3.1. Forensic medicine and literary critique.
This is where applying an unexpected lens, like forensic medicine, the study of physical trauma, becomes really revealing, even for a piece of art.
Because the language is so specific. Slit my wrists, hemorrhage.
Exactly. It's not just cut my wrists. Slit implies a deliberate, deep, potentially fatal act of self-harm. And hemorrhage isn't just bleeding. It's a clinical term for massive, uncontrolled blood loss, the kind that leads to shock and death.
So it's taking that sort of innocent, almost childish image of carving a name in a heart.
Yeah, that classic symbol of young love, naive devotion.
And fusing it with this incredibly violent, clinical, life-threatening reality. It's grotesque.
It is. And the lyric says the truth of the devotion, the ultimate proof, is written in the hemorrhage. The blood loss itself becomes the ink. The heart shape is made with the life draining out.
So the proof of love is the evidence of self-destruction. Like the autopsy report becomes the love letter.
That's a stark way to put it, but yeah, it perfectly illustrates the extreme demands of the addiction personified as this lover. It doesn't just want your devotion. It demands your literal, physical self-annihilation as the ultimate testament. Your body has to become the canvas for its own destruction, proving your loyalty.
It's truly chilling. It shows how self-harm isn't just a side effect. It becomes the core currency of this toxic relationship. The ultimate intimate gesture is destroying yourself for it.
Turning your own death into a declaration of fidelity. It's pathologically intense. Hashtag 3.2. Physiology and toxic dependency.
And then there are those other lines, breathe for you, bleed for you. How do they fit in? Are they just metaphors, or is there something more going on physiologically?
Well, they work as metaphors for extreme dependence, obviously. But think about what breathing and bleeding represent.
Basic life functions, automatic essential things your body does to keep you alive.
Exactly. Breathing provides oxygen, blood transports it. They are the fundamental processes of staying alive, moment to moment. So to say you would breathe for or bleed for someone or something.
It's like saying you're handing over control of your own life support systems.
Precisely. It goes beyond emotional reliance into this feeling of total physiological dependence.
Yeah.
It's as if the substance, the addiction, has become so integrated that it feels like it is your oxygen, your blood flow. Without it, you literally feel like you will cease to function.
Which, in the throes of withdrawal, might actually feel physically true to the person experiencing it.
It absolutely can.
Yeah.
The body screams for the substance it's become dependent on. So these lines capture that feeling of the addiction being perceived as essential for basic survival, even as it's killing you.
And then right alongside this language of utter devotion, we get lines like, it's you I need to kick, you make me feel like shit. That really breaks the romantic illusion.
It shatters it. And that oscillation is key. This immediately brings clinical concepts like trauma bonding into play.
Trauma bonding, what's that exactly?
It's a powerful psychological connection that can form in abusive relationships, characterized by these intense cycles. You swing wildly between moments of perceived love or intense connection, the idealization phase, I'd breathe for you, I'd die for you, and periods of abuse, degradation, or misery, the devaluation phase. You make me feel like shit.
And the good moments somehow outweigh or excuse the bad ones.
The intensity of the good moments, like the euphoric high from a drug, acts as a powerful intermittent reinforcement. It creates this incredibly strong bond that makes it desperately hard to leave. Even when you rationally know it's destroying you, you keep chasing that high, forgiving the lows.
Which leads perfectly into that other line, because I've died inside 1,000 times, but still I'd kill myself for you.
Yeah, that line is devastating because it reframes everything. The speaker isn't just offering to die. They're acknowledging they are already dying. Repeatedly, metaphorically, emotionally, spiritually, the addiction is killing them from the inside out, over and over.
So the promise, still I'd kill myself for you, isn't some future hypothetical sacrifice.
No. It becomes a statement of their current reality. It's
Right.
like saying, this thing is already annihilating my soul piece by piece, and yet the compulsion is so strong I would still complete the process physically if it demanded it. The chorus shifts from a promise to a symptom summary.
They're already dead inside. The physical act is just the final step. God, that's bleak.
It captures the endpoint of that cycle. Chronic internal death, coupled with a readiness for the final act.
Okay, so after all this romanticized self-destruction, this justification, this graphic bodily horror, the bridge of the song hits like a bucket of ice water. It's a total shift in tone and language.
It really is. A moment of brutal clarity.
This isn't love, this is a car crash. This isn't love, this is a bloodbath. This isn't love, this is a sentence. It's a bullet in the head, so pull the trigger. It just completely demolishes the narrative built up so far. Hashtag tag 4.1, Cinematica of Interpersonal Catastrophe, Film Studies and Relationship Therapy.
In narrative terms, like in Greek tragedy, this is the anagnorisis, the moment of critical recognition. The blindfold comes off. The speaker finally, violently rejects the romantic metaphor they've been using.
And look at the words they choose instead. Car crash, bloodbath. These aren't private internal feelings anymore.
No, they're public spectacles of violence and disaster. A car crash is sudden, chaotic, destructive, something people stare at. A bloodbath implies mass casualties, utter devastation, no survivors.
Yes.
These are cinematic terms almost.
So using this kind of language, what is the speaker doing, psychologically or narratively?
They're stopping the internalization. They're taking this thing that felt like a secret, maybe shameful affair, which Sykes himself hinted at, personifying the addiction and dragging it out into the open.
Exposing it for what it is.
Exactly. They're saying this isn't some private tragedy between me and my obsession. This is a full-blown multi-vehicle pileup. It's a massacre. It acknowledges the external damage, the collateral damage to everyone and everything around them, not just the internal pain.
It's like finally calling the disaster by its real name.
Yes. And in therapy, accurately naming the problem is often the very first crucial step towards gaining any kind of agency over it. It breaks the spell of the romantic delusion. It's the beginning of seeing reality clearly, even if that reality is catastrophic. Hashtag tag 4.2. Semantics, criminology, and engineering analysis.
That clarity comes through pure negation, right? This isn't love, and then boom, 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 four incredibly violent final replacements. We can even look at these through those other lenses you mentioned, engineering, law.
Absolutely. Let's take car crash. From an engineering perspective, what is a crash?
Sudden uncontrolled energy transfer, systems failing, metal crunching.
Right. It's a catastrophic system failure. Think about crumple zones. In a car, they're designed to absorb impact, deform, and protect the occupants. What happens in a relationship this toxic, this addictive?
There are no crumple zones.
Or maybe the participants are the crumple zones. All the protective barriers, communication, trust, boundaries, self-respect, they've been obliterated. So every impact, every conflict results in direct, devastating damage to the core structure, the people involved. There's no buffer. It's pure destructive energy transfer, leading to irreparable system failure.
Okay, that's a powerful image. Then bloodbath. Pretty self-explanatory, just total annihilation.
Extreme violence, no restraint, no survivors, total system wipeout.
And then the legal terms? Sentence.
Yeah, sentence, as in a prison sentence, a legal condemnation. It conveys this feeling of being trapped, judged, serving time for a crime. You can't escape the crime of addiction itself. It highlights the utter inescapability, the feeling of being condemned to repeat this cycle.
And the final image, bullet in the head.
Instantaneous, fatal execution. No more struggle, no more cycles, just the end. And that desperate plea, so pull the trigger, it's the ultimate expression of that fatalism.
It's not romantic anymore. It's not even martyrdom. It's just wanting the suffering to stop definitively.
It's accepting the death sentence the addiction has imposed and just asking for it to be carried out quickly rather than enduring the slow, agonizing dying inside 1,000 times. The language has traveled from twisted romance all the way to a plea for execution. Hashtag systemic reflection and conclusion.
Yeah.
So when we stand back and look at the whole journey this one song takes us on, it's pretty staggering, isn't it?
Yeah. Applying all those different lenses, psychology, forensics, theology, engineering, it just shatters the simple surface. That catchy chorus about dying for you completely transforms.
It devolves, really. We see exactly how addiction operates, not just chemically, but linguistically and psychologically.
Yeah.
How it co-opts the language of love, the highest human connection, to justify the lowest state of self-destruction.
Yeah, how it rebrands masochism as devotion.
And how it turns suffering into this perverse identity, this secular martyrdom, using things like the halo idea to short-circuit the brain's natural alarm bells.
It really confirms that this song, Die For You, is more than just a song. It's, well, you called it a cultural artifact, a clinical document almost.
I think it is. It's a record of Oli Sykes' personal struggle, obviously. But it's also this incredibly complex piece of future emo art, designed for mass consumption, yet holding this incredibly dense, dark core.
So stepping back even further, what's the big takeaway from doing this kind of deep dive? Why should we care about dissecting a pop song like this?
Well, I think it shows that popular culture isn't trivial. It's a living document. It reflects and shapes our understanding of the most profound and sometimes the most destructive parts of being human.
And using these different analytical tools gives us the precision to see those forces more clearly.
Exactly. And maybe the most crucial insight here for anyone listening is recognizing that linguistic shift. The realization that the core romantic statement of the song, I Would Die For You, isn't the promise. It's the symptom.
Ah, the indicator of the illness itself.
Precisely. And the only glimpse of potential health or the start of recovery comes in that bridge. That moment of painful, catastrophic clarity where the speaker finally finds the right words, car crash, bloodbath, to name the reality, not the delusion.
So being able to tell the difference between the language of sickness and the language of reality, that's vital.
That's everything. Which leaves us, and leaves you listening, with a final thought to maybe chew on.
Go for it.
Think about the line between devotion and destruction in your own life. It can be dangerously thin sometimes. When you talk about your most intense commitments, maybe to a person, maybe to a job, a project, even a belief or a habit, what kind of language do you use?
Do you find yourself using the language of sacrifice, of endurance, maybe even martyrdom?
Yeah. Are you framing suffering as proof of loyalty? And if you are, take a hard look. Is that language helping you see clearly? Or is it maybe serving to justify staying in a situation, a system, that's quietly eroding your own emotional crumple zones? Are you mistaking the symptom for the promise?
A really powerful question to sit with. Thank you for bringing us this material, and thank you for going deep with us once again.
Always a pleasure.
We'll see what artifact you bring us to dissect next time on the Deep Dive.